All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Lurk Talks, a podcast where I'm Lurk and I talk. Today's episode is going to be really funny. I got the inspiration for this one because of a Twitch stream that I did about a couple months ago, I'd say. And I have never seen a collective group of like 20 plus people actually just sit and listen to someone talk without typing in a chat for like 20-30 minutes while I just did the stupidest thing ever, and that is what we're doing today. So anyone from my Twitch stream, sorry you guys are gonna sit through this again, but you seem to have liked it and I want to do it for a podcast, and I want to make it a semi-regular kind of thing based with different things. So without further ado, today's episode of Lurk Talks is I am going to just from memory explain to you the entire series of Twilight. Yes, you heard me right. I spent 20-30 minutes on a stream explaining the entirety of the Twilight movies to my stream, and everyone seemed to love it, so we're doing it again to reach a bigger audience because it's the right amount of dumb, okay? It's the right amount of dumb. So, for those of you who are not Twihards, and those of you who are, I am sorry if I miss details, but this is to sum up as much as the movies as I possibly can based off of memory. I have watched the movies at least a dozen times each, although there is one movie that always seems to escape my mind, and it's Eclipse, and I can't really remember what happens in it, but you'll see when we get there. All right, hang on. I should pull up the... Okay, so here we go. The Twilight movies consist of Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and Breaking Dawn. Breaking Dawn was cut into two parts. You saw me look over here for those of you on video because I just wanted to make sure that I have the covers of the movies so that I can try and express it. So off the top of my head, we start this beautiful saga with Twilight. We meet our main character Bella, who is super pale for somebody who lives in Arizona because it's hot, and her mom is wanting to go traveling with her like stepdaddy kind of thing, or at least her mom's boyfriend, who's a baseball player. And basically Bella's mom is like, I don't care, you go be with your dad kind of thing. And like Bella's willing to do it, but like also it's kind of like, wouldn't you want to be with your kid a little bit? Like, she's almost done school. She's so close to being done school. Why didn't you just wait for her to graduate? And then, but whatever. Anyways, Bella moves from Arizona to Forks, Washington to live with her dad that she hasn't really seen in a while. And we love Charlie. Charlie's this sweet guy. He's the town cop kind of thing. He gets upset that Bella cut her hair, or that her hair grew out. And she's like, well, I cut it since the last time I saw you. And he's like, oh, I guess it grew out again. And it's just a weird scene, but I think Charlie's a little bit on the spectrum. And you know what? That's okay. We love Charlie even more for it because he did notice her hair, and that's all you can ask. Bella then she gets a truck. Her dad bought her a truck, and it's this really old school cool truck, and she meets her old friend Jacob Black because he helped his dad rebuild the engine, or he rebuilt the engine, but he doesn't go to the high school with Bella. He goes to school on the reserve because he is indigenous, and Bella's upset about it. She's like, oh, I wish at least I had one nice face, whatever. And then she goes to school and she gets bombarded by some people being like, oh my god, you must be Isabella. And she's like, no, it's just Bella. And she meets all her friends. Anna Kendrick's in the movie, if you guys didn't know that, because she forgot that one time. So all the boys in the school are like fawning over her, and they're at lunch, and all of a sudden the Cullens walk in. Okay, so then Anna Kendrick and the other girl are explaining to Bella who the Cullens are, and basically it's a family of these really pale foster kids that the town's doctor adopted, but they're all like together. So like Jasper and Alice are a couple, Rosalie and Emmett are a couple, and then there's just Edward, and Edward walks in all by himself, and he's strutting, and he can hear thoughts and stuff, so you can hear him smile when Anna Kendrick is talking about him, and Bella's like side-eyeing him and shit, and he's just staring at her intensely because he can't read her mind, but we don't know that yet. But then we go to science class. I don't remember which science specifically, but it's a science class of some sort. And Bella walks in, the fan blows, and her smell goes towards Edward, and he vomits, basically. He just, and won't talk to her, and like doesn't want anything to do with her, and then he just disappears. He doesn't come to school for like a couple days, and they say that he's on a camping trip or something with his dad or some shit. I don't know, but he's just not there because she's too stinky. And then he comes back and he's like super sweet to her because he just can't stay away from her, and she can tell there's something different about him, but he's not telling her. And like he doesn't have, it's weird how so fast Bella's like, tell me your secrets, tell me your life story, without even really getting to know this guy first, because he doesn't need to do that, but whatever. And then Bella eventually is putting things together because she's talking to Jacob a little bit more at La Push Beach, and she invited Edward, but Edward didn't show up, and they're like, the Cullens don't go here, and she's like, what does that mean? And basically Jacob's like, well, we have this tale in our tribe about the Cold Ones, and they're just like, they're a little eerily similar to these people that we hear about in the stories and whatnot. So Bella's like, oh, I need to go to the bookstore and learn about the tribe's stories. And so she gets the book, and she's reading and researching about the Cold Ones, and she puts it together that Edward's a vampire. But you want to know how she says something? They're going to school, and was it at school? I think they were going to school, and then Edward pulled her into the forest, and he's like just walking around Bella, and she's just standing there, and then she's like, I know what you are, and he's like, say it out loud, and she's like, vampire. And then he's like, picks her up, and they fucking go running, and then he's like, I'm incredibly fast and incredibly strong, and rips a root and throws it. And then he takes off his clothes, and you need to see me for who I truly am. And he takes off his shirt in the sunlight, and he sparkles like a diamond glitter bomb. And she's like, you're beautiful. And he's like, this is the skin of a killer, Bella. And she's like, I don't care. And he's like, you're not afraid. I'm not afraid. And then they go running from treetop to treetop like a spider monkey. and basically they start dating. Charlie's trying to figure out why there's some sort of animal that's been killing people in the forest or like nearby towns. All of a sudden, the Cullens are playing baseball with Bella. Now, Bella's not a sporty girl whatsoever, okay? But they're playing baseball, and they have to because when they hit the bat and the ball together, it sounds like thunder, so they have to wait for it to be stormy, which is really weird because nobody plays baseball in the storms because that's dangerous, but they need it because of the thunderclap and ass of the ball and the bat. While they're doing that, they can sense that there's so the vampires, the Cullens have different, like, they have different skills and stuff. Like, Edward can read minds, Alice can see, like, future. Jasper just looks like he's in pain and has to shit. Not that that's a superpower, but just to describe him for a second. Other vampires are coming, and it's, oh no, it's this redhead, and then this blonde, long-haired dude with a leather jacket, and then Laurence. Why don't I remember their names? But anyways, the long blonde-haired weird dude who looks like a hippie leather jacket wearing guy smells Bella, and he wants to eat her, and he's a tracker, so he can like really track her down if they go away. And basically they're running from him, and he's like wanting to kill her because and whatnot, and he tricks Bella into leaving the Cullens' protection and goes into a ballroom, and then he throws her into a mirror, and the mirror shatters her thigh, and he bit her. And then the Cullens get there, and to kill a vampire, you have to rip them into pieces and burn them. And so he's getting ripped into pieces, and then Edward is supposed to suck out the poison from the bite on Bella's wrist. And Carlisle, who's the daddy, the doctor daddy, is like, you have to stop, Edward, you have to stop, find the will to stop. But Edward is just like sucking really hard. He's really liking, he's like, you know what I mean? And he won't stop. And then Bella passes out and then wakes up in a hospital room. Her mom's there. And they tried to say that she was so angry because her and Edward pretended to break up so she could like run away from Charlie's place so that Charlie didn't get hurt or anything. And yeah, so basically they said she fell down like 7 flights of stairs and out a fucking window. Really doesn't make sense about, there's a bite mark, honey. Like, how do they hide the bite mark? Because that's going to be a scar. Anyways, that's Twilight. And then we lead into New Moon. Now, Edward breaks up with Bella, and you see her for almost the entirety of the movie just sit there in front of her window in her bedroom as the seasons change. And it just rotates through the seasons. And then sometimes you'll have a scene where she's screaming in bed because she's in so much pain that Edward has left her and broken her heart. And poor Charlie not knowing how to deal with this because he doesn't know how to deal with his own emotions, let alone his daughter's. But eventually Bella gets out of it. She goes to the movies with Anna Kendrick a couple times, but it's to see like action movies. And she's like, I don't know why you're into this stuff all of a sudden. And then she gets on the back of a stranger's motorcycle and goes for a ride, and she starts to see Edward. So when she does crazy adrenaline rushing things, Edward appears. So she starts hanging out with Jacob a lot, and she knows that he can rebuild an engine. So she gets some She gets some dirt bikes from the trash or some place and brings them to Jacob, and they're rebuilding the engines together. And Jacob is clearly falling in love with Bella. And Bella's like kind of she honestly leads Jacob on a little bit. Okay, I feel bad for Jacob. But then when she starts riding the motorcycle, she starts to see Edward, and she's riding the motorcycle without a helmet. Always wear a helmet, guys. She falls off because she gets so distracted by the figure of Edward, and she bashes her head into a rock. And then for some reason, Jacob takes his shirt off and puts it on her bleedy head. And she's like, whoa, because he's starting to get all rippled and stuff. And she's also learning that Jacob's friends have like slowly stopped hanging out with him because this other wolf dude, from his tribe has like taken them away. And it's just these group of dudes that are just running around in jean skater shorts and shirtless in the woods, just running around, having a good time. And then Jacob starts going through it. He cuts off his long hair, and he's got his short hair, and he's naked, and he wasn't talking to Bella and was breaking her heart. And Bella's like, what the fuck, Jake, where were you? And like punches him, but she breaks her hand because his jaw is like, he's just so strong. And it's because the tribe has a secret, because they can turn into wolves. They have wolf blood, so they turn into these giant wolves. They're huge. They're like bigger than bears. And so Jacob is got the wolf blood, and that's why all those men are running around on the indigenous lands shirtless, because they're all wolves and they're really hot, as where Edward is really cold if you touch him. Jacob's nice and toasty, which Bella made the wrong choice. Go with the toasty warm man, because you're a tiny little petite thing. You should have the warmth, not the ice cold. Basically, the redhead chick from the first movie is all angry that they killed her lover, who was the blonde, long-haired guy. And she's gonna get revenge on the Cullens by killing Bella, and she's trying to get her. And Edward is missing and whatnot, and he keeps seeing that Bella is dead. And one time Bella jumped off a cliff for adrenaline, and Edward thought she died, and she didn't die. And they go to the house. Edward calls the house, but Jacob picks up the phone, and he's like, Charlie's planning a funeral, but it's because this dude that Charlie went hunting with from the tribe died because of the redhead lady. Edward took it as Bella died, but Edward doesn't know that. And then Alice shows up, and she's like, Bella, Edward's going to get himself killed by the Valtori. I think that's the right word. It's the vampire, like, government group basically, and they're in Italy. So Alice and Bella fly to Italy. Don't know where they got the money to do that, but they fly to Italy and they have to run through the streets where people are wearing red coats, and Edward's about to take off his shirt and reveal himself, and a little girl does see his sparkly skin, and Bella shoves him back into the building, and the vampires aren't supposed to let humans know about them, and it's a criminal offense. And so then Alice, Edward, and Bella get taken down to go see the Valtori where Dakota Fanning is, and she just looks at you and goes, pain, and it's insufferable pain, but it doesn't work on Bella. None of their powers work on Bella, and they're like, oh, you're gonna be a very special one, and they're planning on changing her, and bloob 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 bloob. And the whole plan was to change Bella, and so yep, the goal is everyone go back home and Bella better be a vampire by X date. Then we get Eclipse. Now, this is where I can't really remember a whole lot because I start to get Eclipse mixed with New Moon. I think Eclipse is like a little war. I think it's a war of like fresh blood things, because I think the redhead chick bit this one dude in Seattle, and he's trying to create an army of like fresh vampires, and they are like really strong and chaotic and dumb, but they're they're scary. And so then the Cullens and the wolves have to team up to protect Bella, to fight off these things and to stop them, because it's creating a scene, and the Valtori are gonna come and punish everybody because Bella's not changed yet, and like it's just gonna expose vampire. It's a whole thing. It's basically just a Civil War movie that Jasper likes to lead because he was from the Civil War. Also, did I forget to mention that Edward is like 100 years old? He's over 100 years old, and Bella's 17. Please keep that in mind, okay? Edward is 100 years old to Bella's 17, because she asked him in the first movie, I'm so sorry I missed this, how long have you been 17 for? A while. So we're now in 3 movies deep where there's a huge age gap between these two people. She should just be with Jacob. They're closer in age and he's warm, okay? Team Jacob. Now, Breaking Dawn, because you know what? Everything turns out they win an Eclipse, but in Breaking Dawn a lot happens. The first part of the movie, so because it's in part 1 and part 2, the first part of the movie, all you really need to know is Edward and Bella, they get married. Also breaking the treaty that the Cullens had with the tribe, but they're gonna figure it out because they love Bella so much, both of them. And I think the treaty was that they weren't allowed to change a human or bite a human, because the Cullens, what makes them different from the other vampires, I'm sorry, I missed a lot of information. The Cullens are different than normal vampires because they're vegetarians. They only eat animal blood. They don't eat human blood. So once they break this treaty, then they don't really know what to do, kind of thing. It's like they're at odds. Edward and Bella get married. Like I said, people thought Bella was pregnant because of it happening so fast, but basically their game plan was to get married right after high school and then go move to Alaska so that she doesn't have to see her parents again. And people are getting suspicious of Carlisle anyways. That's why they had to go away in New Moon. God, I really missed a lot of fine details. I am so sorry, but we're tying it all together. So Edward and Bella, they go to an island that Carlisle owns something. I don't know. When you're hundreds of years old, you must have a lot of money. Anyways, Edward and Bella go stay at this island, and they have the sexy time, and Edward breaks the bed really hardcore. It's like smashed to bits. But Bella gets pregnant. I'm just gonna take a sip of water while you guys process that. Have we processed that? Bella gets pregnant, and for some reason, because it's a demon seed baby, that it has accelerated growth, and the baby is feeding off of all of the blood in Bella's body, so she's getting really sick and decrepit, and they pretend that she died while on vacation to let her parents not worry and not know anything, because no one's had a vampire baby before. At the end of the movie, so Bella gives birth and she's like all sticks and bones because she can't do anything, and they have to change her into a vampire to save her life after giving birth. She names the fucking baby Renesmee. Don't even get me started. And it is the creepiest CGI-faced baby in the whole world. But you think that Bella dies at the end of part 1. Bella's eyes open, screen goes to black. Then we have part 2. Part 2, there's gonna be this whole giant war between the Cullens and the tribe members and the Valtori, basically because they need to kill Renesmee because they don't know what the fuck she's gonna turn into or what she's gonna be capable of or even controllable. But she's like almost like a 12-year-old, 12 to 16-year-old now, even with just within a few like months or something. Oh, also when she was born, Jacob imprinted on her, and imprinting in his tribe is like falling head over heels for someone like that is your soulmate. Yeah, Jacob's like 15, 16, and he imprinted on a fresh born baby, and it's the creepiest thing ever. But I guess, you know what, both Jacob and Edward have some weird giant age gap things that they really need to work on, but that's neither here or there right now, because everyone's going to, it's going to be a big war, and you see it all like come together. They're on the battlefield, and they're fighting, and like all of like Carlisle dies, and all of these people that you've come to love on the Cullens are dying, and some of the tribe members that are wolves are dying, and it's just like a whole everyone's dying fest. And then all of a sudden, near the end of the movie, it goes back in time, and it's because Alice can show people the future. Well, I think it's because that one Valtori guy, the leader of them, he can hold your hands and see what you see. And because Alice can see the future, he read Alice's mind, and everyone was here, even Dakota Fanning, ready to fight each other. And you spend the whole movie seeing this giant fight happen, and it just turned out to be a vision of Alice's. And then they just go, truths, and walk away. And that is the Twilight Saga. If you liked this episode of Lurk Talks, please leave a like, a comment, subscribe, follow the podcast on anything and everything that you can, and swing by my Twitch, twitch.tv/alurker02. I stream Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and sometimes more in between, but be sure to come by and hang out, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode.